Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the PivotBoss pre-market video for Thursday, January 16th, 2025. I am Frank Ochoa, aka PivotBoss. Happy Thursday, everyone. Here's a look at the ES and the daily time frame post-economic data here prior to the RTH Open. We had core retail sales coming in a little lower than expected here. We also had initial jobless claims coming in 217,000 versus a 210,000 forecast, and a revision for the prior reading at 203K. We also had Philly Fed Manufacturing Index coming in, as well as retail sales a little cooler than expected there. So quite a bit of economic data coming out, and we're seeing just a little bit of a response on that data. I think the previous session here with a massive breakout and continuation. This is something we talked about on Tuesday evening with a digestive day. We would likely see a high range breakout and price discovery day on Wednesday. We saw that, but one of the questions we had here yesterday was, after this strength, do we then begin to see another rotation back down? This market has been channeling a little lower, perhaps a kind of a flagging type of pattern, but on these rallies here, we have seen some swift reversals back down over the last three rotations. This is something we mentioned Monday. You know, if we come in here and put in a little bit of a low Monday, we could see some strength, but after that strength, do we then begin to see some weakness back down? Something we got to consider here today. We did see a reaction and rejection of prices below the key range low, and that's taken us precisely to the key range midpoint, so that kind of swing move has played out. But keeping an eye on the previous session's high here. A failure to maintain acceptance above the previous session's high opens up a fade after trend day back into the previous session's range. Perhaps there could be a little bit of a digestive type of development here throughout the day, as maybe price maintains the gains here over the course of the week thus far. And then perhaps Friday the stops come out and we see a rotation down. Similar to what transpired back here. You had a strong low, a push higher, kind of a holding pattern day, and then you saw the stops come out and a rotation back down. Does today become a holding pattern day, or do we fall deeper into the previous session's range, perhaps as low as 59.50? So after this recent strength, perhaps another rotation down could be seen, and that's something we've been warning about over the course of the week. While we could see short-term strength, this rotation could come back out as we work our way closer to the previous quarter's low. Looking at the NQ here, very similar price action, big time squeeze over the course of the previous day. That squeeze came out of a squat bar here, a digestive day, stop run day to the upside on a Wednesday, and a holding pattern here developing today. This one also got to keep an eye on the previous session's high price, currently back below that level right now. You also see we're on a line up here. We're on a line, kind of at channeling behavior, push to the upside and a big rotation down, push to the upside, another rotation down, etc., etc. for the last three rotations. Now we're seeing another push up. Do we see another rotation back down, and how far does that take us up ahead? So keep an eye on the previous session's high, failure to hold or establish acceptance above that level, and you're rotating back toward the previous session's midpoint, which is 21,180. Again, it could be a holding pattern day as well. We've seen that develop over the last two of the last three rotations here, for example. There, not so much here, and then we've seen the bottom kind of fall out in the days that follow. Looking at crude oil, this one right now down about 0.5% right now. Big rotation to the downside, perhaps a rollover gap here hitting this market. But we did hit the $80 level yesterday. We did finish with an outside day yesterday, and those are two components that we talked about that could be ahead. And on Tuesday afternoon, we mentioned keep an eye on the previous session's low, because there could be a trap opportunity as deep as 77.25. That could lead to a rotation back up and an outside day back up. And that happened, but it did so in spades. Big time move to the upside, 3.5 points of range. One of the bigger days we've seen in a good long while. And this up move during this bullish portion of seasonality continues to be highly bullish. Today again, kind of a rollover gap down, a little bit of a drop and pullback, but we've only seen 1 day pullbacks and then hard continuations to the upside. Even yesterday morning, mentioned that we could be flowing back toward the $80 level and down the road into 81.5. So this pullback day here could fuel the next rally into 81.5 over the next several days. All right, looking at gold futures, this one's up 0.7%. One thing we mentioned about this one was we have to keep an eye on the 2740 level, because soon we could be looking at an expansion phase out of this triangular pattern here. That's a super large triangular pattern, big time compression, a lot of built up energy in this pattern, especially after strength and a markup phase last year. This kind of buildup of energy here could lead to multiple weeks, if not multiple months, of strength to the upside as this market works its way higher toward the 3,000 level. So right now we're sitting right at 2740. Can this market develop a transition day through 2740 here today and close well beyond it? If so, we could be looking at a day one breakout that could lead to a nice continuation to the upside in the coming weeks. Any failure to hold that 2735 level, and we kind of rotate back down in the near term. But so far we've been in kind of this short-term uptrend, couple of day pullback, and then a follow through to the upside has been the pattern here. So keeping an eye again on 2735 to 2740 for this market. Looking at the YM here down 1/3%. One thing we left with yesterday afternoon in the afternoon session in our trading room was to watch for potential thrust reversal sell signals. That's that pink signal right there. That's a thrust reversal sell signal. This is a thrust reversal buy signal. And basically it's when price would push beyond the previous session's high and then rotates back below that high. It's basically pushing up and then failing back down. And that can tend to lead to a fade after trend day, or at least a fade back into the previous trend day's range. While we could see a further rotation as deep as the previous session's midpoint, that would be a fade after trend day with a kind of an intraday morning target, 43,161s. We could also see it kind of develop some sort of digestive pattern here that ultimately would lead to kind of a rotation back down perhaps. So this has been a really good squeeze here, outside week to the upside. Took out the previous week's low to begin the week and then went and took out the previous week's high price. That was an outside week on a Wednesday. We're now back below the previous week's high here, and we could see a little bit of a fade back into the previous session's range. Looking at Bitcoin, down nearly 0.5% right now. We did get the move into 100K. That's what we were looking for, especially after Monday's rejection here. We were looking for a rotation back to 100K, but it's 100K where, you know, the bulls have to either overtake that level and send this thing to new highs, or we're going to continue to see kind of this rounded top develop up here, and we could see a rotation back down. So still building quite a bit of energy up here, but a rounded top can tend to be a bit of a bearish pattern. So keeping an eye on 100K right now. This market's still trading around that level, but a thrust reversal sell signal developing. We've seen multiple of those here recently, here and now there, and those types of early signals can tend to lead to the previous session's midpoint, if not through that level, for some weakness ahead. So keeping an eye on 100K there. ETH having more weakness right now of the crypto space, down 3% here. Big time pullback after yesterday's squeeze. The idea for this one was that we would get to 3,400 and maybe get up as high as 3,600. It got to 3,500 in 1 day, which was a huge move. This one was up 6, nearly 7% yesterday, but swift pullback here as lower highs continue to be in play as of right now. Overall, this market continues to be a bit more bearish than Bitcoin, but we do have that great large key range that we continue to follow here that would suggest a 5200 target down the road on a longer term basis. And any pullback could still be a buying opportunity, even as deep as 2800 or even 2600 could provide kind of a long-term entry for this market. All right, that is it for now. We'll see how this plays out the rest of the session. Good luck, trade well, and I'll see you in the trading room. Take care.